Top Gun Maverick. This has been in production for like 12 years. We finally got it.
The need for speed does not translate to quick productions. Yeah, they started filming this in 2018, my guy.
And
But it's finally out after several production and COVID delays. Long
was it
time
worth the
coming.
wait for you, Dave?
It was, yes. I'm not 36 years old like Top Gun 1, but still excited to see something like this just because Tom Cruise has been operating at such a high level as like the last action hero that he views himself to be. Huge fan of the later Mission Impossible films that he's been spending most of his time with. And just to see him basically do that again in a certain sense. Maverick isn't that exactly Ethan Hunt, but he's not that far off either. And just to get a sequel to a beloved American film like Tony Scott's Top Gun, uh, and to get one that's this good. Joseph Kosinski, not the most famous director in the world, but very, very capable. And now we have a Top Gun film that's not quite as coked out, not quite as homoerotic as the original, but I'd say just as, if not more, compelling and fun. And great cast once again. Like, yeah, I was excited for it. Didn't really know what to expect in terms of like overall quality. I was just really having like hope that it would be on level with these Mission Impossible films, and I was really blown away by just how effective it is. And I'm very thrilled to see the movie be as successful at the box office as it is, because definitely a long time coming, but I think a lot was riding on this for Cruise and Paramount.
And man, I agree. I think they completely delivered. It's pretty remarkable that they were able to pull this off. Not only, I think, to make a really compelling action film in 2022 that feels totally singular, but I mean, I think they completely reinvented the way that any fighter pilot movie is ever going to be made. My first thought as I was preparing today, and we're talking Star Wars Celebration, we're talking Obi-Wan, is if the impending Rogue One movie that is going to be made isn't shot similarly to this, where it's like in the cockpit and you like feel like you're like in there with them. Like I
Rogue
don't want
Squadron,
it.
you mean?
Yeah,
Right?
Rogue Squadron. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah.
If it's not shot like this, I don't want it. Like I want it to be like this. I want to relive these action experiences again and again. It's that good.
Yeah, I mean, much was made of Tom Cruise doing two-a-days for months to learn how to fly a helicopter to the level required for the ending of Mission Impossible Fallout. He basically took that up to 11 this time around by teaching himself and numerous cast members how to fly modern day fighter jets, because they got all this footage of them in the cockpits. Like, you listen to Kaczynski talk about the logistical challenge that was making this movie, where there's so many things to consider, not to mention pulling off all this actual choreography in the fucking sky. Like, it's really mind blowing from a production side of things, but I mean, visually, it's kind of mind blowing. And I really loved how it started too, where you have Cruise on one of those like top secret like advanced like bomber from Lockheed Martin, which is based in a bit of reality if you do some digging. And I thought it was a great way to like set up the Maverick character for anyone who maybe was just kind of going in blind to this film, and watching him just like push the plane and push the plane until it literally splits at the seams, and he destroys this multi-million-dollar aircraft in the sky because of his own need for speed. I was like, wow, this is a great start. And then once you really get the dogfighting scenes later on, it's like, wow, yeah. It doesn't matter to you that like the art of the dogfight, the need for a dogfight in modern warfare is completely irrelevant. Obviously, in the day of drones, the movie's very aware of this. Of course, you had the whole Ed Harris character about how, and John Hamm as well. It's like the future's coming, Maverick, and you're not part of it. Like, doesn't matter that like we really don't need to see like there's not like a need for this. It doesn't matter, because like the world that this movie exists in, it's just so raw and so visceral, and it looks so good.
Yeah, and you mentioned like the world it exists in because like you really don't have a sense of like when this is. Is this like present day? Is this futuristic? There's a lot that like you don't know about the world, but I definitely feel like that's like a small detail that really doesn't matter because it's so fun to be in this world, and it has some great callbacks. Like right even from the beginning, you get Rooster played by Miles Teller, banging on the piano at the bar, singing the same song that his dad Goose
Goodness
sang in the first
gracious.
movie. Great Balls of Fire. Just like absolutely like wonderful scene. You let Miles Teller just be like charismatic and like good looking and totally works. It also kind of like I think sets up the internal conflict for Maverick. Obviously people want him to retire and move on from this world, and he hasn't moved up in the army the way he should have, quote unquote.
Navy, but
Um,
yeah.
yeah, the Navy's. Thank you. But it's like a great way to kind of like set it up, and then they're like, we're gonna be like kind of worried about this. Like Miles Teller and Tom Cruise are gonna butt heads a few times, and Maverick's not gonna totally win him over at first. But that's not really what the movie is like about. It's just about kind of like these like really fun fighter jet scenes like you talked about, like the dog fights are like super compelling, the training is super compelling, and it's like
Oh yeah.
it doesn't get too caught up in the person to person conflict, which is actually kind of like a nice respite for like an action film like this.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's just as good as it needs to be.
Hmm.
The role of Goose's son, the role of Rooster, hotly and desired by actors. Miles Teller was alongside Glenn Powell and Nicholas Holt as the final
Hmm.
three for this role. Glenn Powell, who's he said many times, was super bummed to not get this role, but then I think expertly cast by Cruise and
Hangman.
as Hangman, basically as this film's Iceman. I mean, he's no perfect as like the kind of like perfect, but douchey guy like
Yeah.
role. It's just like Iceman. It's great.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think everybody in this is pretty perfectly cast. Like I loved the moment when they were going through all the call signs and like what's yours? Like Bob, just Bob. Like oh,
Yeah.
it's perfect for Lewis Pullman in that character because
Hmm.
he's like a little weirdo, but it works out great.
Right. Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah, and I think you mentioned like we don't really know when this is taking place. I think that really does well where they don't we don't know where this mission is. We don't know who the enemy is, and I'm really happy
yeah,
about that in the times we live in. We don't need to go there. It doesn't matter,
yeah,
and I'm happy they
exactly.
don't. You know.
I
Uh,
know. It was funny. I actually thought I had like missed it. And I was like doing research, like who is like the enemy, like country in this. Yeah, they never mentioned it. I like that. Great choice. But
yeah, totally. And also, I think in terms of like in like character dynamics, they do a really good job of kind of setting up the conflict with Maverick and what his like final hurrah is going to be in terms of preparing these already Top Gun graduates, the best of the best, preparing them for this like nearly impossible mission.
yep.
And then it sets it up just well enough that when we get Maverick to do the mission himself, it's like you're just so pumped because like, we had already
Yeah.
seen Maverick back in the plane because he's doing the training with them, like
Hmm.
hands-on training. What a great teacher! But then when you get to the point where he needs to actually fly the mission, it's like fuck yes. And
Yeah.
I really didn't expect the final scene, the Act Three, the mission itself, to be as like riveting as it ended up being. But I thought it was
Hmm.
really compelling. Uh, Also, I was a bit surprised to see the love interest for Maverick, played by Jennifer Connelly. I thought that stuff was actually a lot better than I thought. I think Connelly, it's not like the deepest part by any means, but I thought she still uh, brought as much as she really could to a role like that.
Yeah. That was kind of neither here nor there for me, but yeah, I thought it was fine. That was like an interesting like addition to it all.
Right,
Um, you know,
age
you
appropriate casting as well.
yeah, you mentioned the like the final payoff, right? And how like Maverick in that final mission gets his redemption by like sacrificing himself to save Rooster. And then Rooster gets, goes like down after him. And I love the scene where Cruz is like running up to him and he just knocks him right over. Like a laugh out loud moment because it really it feels like so pure, kind of like what the hell are you doing here? It's not how it's supposed to go. Like what a pure like meta moment. I thought that was great.
I did what you told me to do. I didn't think.
Yeah, fantastic. Great stuff. And then I thought it had like a nice like I liked the old plane, like having to escape back type of thing against like the new
Hmm.
planes. Thought that was just really like expertly done, well written, great final run.
Hell yeah, yeah, man. It's just
It's great.
it's a real blast, and it's really awesome to see just how largely older audiences have been turning out for this film opening weekend, which was by far and away the biggest opening of Tom Cruise's career, nearly double his previous high mark at the domestic level, setting the new Memorial Day record as well, 160.5 million. That number went up several times as they kept finding more and more money after the estimates. But 55% of people seeing this were over 35, 38% over 45, 18% over 55. The one thing we've been talking about with movies is that the older audiences have not been returning to the box office since the pandemic began. And we had seen that if the movie is right, people will show up. Look no further than No Way Home. But the older audience has been that one last thing. Now, does this mean older audiences are just going to come back in droves? I don't necessarily think so. I think this was kind of the perfect film that older audiences were clearly hyped to see. But nonetheless, very awesome to see this. Also, there's some great reporting in Puck about how Tom Cruise negotiated this film for himself, where he's probably in line to make about $50 million from this movie due to his 10% of first dollar gross that he negotiated, which is that's about on par for how much Robert Downey Jr. made for Endgame. These now exceedingly rare back end participation deals at this level for acting talent. So definitely cool to see, and much is being said now about Tom Cruise being one of our last movie stars, and I think this movie also does a positive thing for me, which is get more people excited for the next Mission Impossible film, which has already received an early trailer, which is Mission Impossible 7. So very exciting. Also, we'll be looking to see Joseph Kaczynski in short order because he has a film on Netflix coming out in just a few weeks called Spiderhead with Miles Teller and Chris Hemsworth. And then his next film after that is a film with Apple with Brad Pitt about Formula One. Sign me up.